Hey, welcome to another edition of Dan's Models. This is John sitting here with Dan, and we're looking at another HO scale model this time. Burlington Northern, well, I figured out the GP38 part, but that's as far as I got.
Yeah, you're almost right. It's a GP38-2.
Well, I'm mostly right.
Mostly right, yeah. This is a Proto 2000 model that I detailed and painted. I've done actually several of these. If you've seen, there's a previous episode of Dan's Models, which has a GP38-2B in Burlington Northern colors.
Okay. Yeah.
And this one I did the same time I did that one, basically, as kind of a pair. And I often run them together. They're pretty much the same mechanically. The only difference is that this one is equipped with a Loc Sound DCC sound decoder, and the GP38-2B is just equipped with a Loc Pilot, which is a DCC but not sound decoder. And the reason for that is just because I usually, you don't usually run the B unit by itself. So it's usually got something else providing sound. Most of my engines do have sound, but sometimes with B units I leave it out because it's it's just adding more ambient noise to the room. Sometimes if you get too many in one place, sometimes it can get a little bit much.
Yeah.
But even though I do turn the volume down on my engines, but quite a bit of detail. I changed the fans. These are Canon fans like I usually do. It's got a Canon cab nose and sub bass. I did the ditch lights with surface mount LEDs, and I also added the nose gyro light. This is an X Frisco unit is what it represents. And I picked this one because it was one of the only ones I could find which got ditch lights but still kept its nose gyro light. Most of them either had the gyro light or they had the ditch lights and the gyro light was gone. So, but this number 2304 was one that I found a picture of that still had everything, which I thought was kind of neat. So I picked that one. The number boards operate independently from the headlight. Everything's independent. That's one of the things I like to do with lights is to make sure everything's independent, so that I don't like it when number boards and headlights come on together and go off together because that's really not very realistic. So, and then I added this aftermarket horn, antennas on the roof. This engine didn't have a lot of detail. I mean, the real one is pretty stock, so it didn't have a lot of extra stuff on it. But what was there, I tried to model as well as I could. So one of the things I did on this one that I don't usually do or haven't done again was the ditch lights are done a little differently than I usually do them. Nowadays I try to do them with a small opening and then a fiber optic lens on the outside, just the same way I do the headlights, and it makes it look more like the headlight looks. These are just the surface mount LED with a clear round lens over them. So there's no restricting pipe to cut down the diameter of the light source. So they don't look quite the same.
In person they don't, but on the camera you can't really tell so much.
Camera. Yeah. It's not like a horrible thing, but it is noticeable a little bit when you're in person.
I'm noticing in person that the color temperature is a little different at least it seems a little different between the headlight and the ditch lights, but on the camera it's very hard to tell.
Yeah, that is a common problem because you're dealing with, usually I use a 3mm single LED for the headlights, which is fed by a pair of fiber optic strands that run back into the shell.
Yeah.
And these are independent LEDs, one in each ditch light casting, and you're dealing with different types of LEDs. And you buy them supposedly in the same type of color range, but in practice they don't always match.
Yeah, it looks really good on camera though, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
It looks really nice.
So, and it's got the usual, brass sunshades, aftermarket windshield wipers, all that good stuff.
Yeah, it looks like the MU hoses. There's something about the MU hoses on this one that makes it look better too.
Yeah, that's all aftermarket. Uncoupling levers are aftermarket. So, I think the proto units did come with some MU hoses, but I didn't like the way they looked. They were kind of too stiff looking. These, I think I used the Details West soft metal ones on this model, and they're just, you can bend them and make them look more like, hoses look. They're a little bit, droopy and, just look more natural. So on the back, I pretty much the same thing. I added the MU cable, the MU hoses, and also some spare knuckles, which are mounted on the back of the Pilot.
Yeah, what's nice about this shot is you can see the detail in the Canon fans, and they really do look good.
Yeah, they look... now, like some other models, the Proto did come with see-through fans, but I didn't like the way they looked. Canon fans have been around for quite a few years now, but there still isn't much that looks as good as they do. So I keep using them.
Yeah, so it sounds good too.
Yeah, thanks. And one of the things, I think a while back I had this engine on one of the video podcasts.
Okay.
And I think somebody commented that it sounded like it had a turbocharger when it should have a roots blower. And now it has actually the correct sound. The reason for that is because Loc Sound recently released the sound set for GP38 and SD38, which has the correct noise.
Oh, cool.
Because these engines weren't turbocharged. They're just normally aspirated.
Yeah.
So that's why if it sounds a little different now, if you've seen that other episode of the podcast, that's why.
Yeah. Do you know, I want to say that to me, that's a really impressive thing to notice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, someone who would know that really knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I mean, a lot of these guys, they know their sounds. And they're picky,
I never ceases to amaze me how much stuff our viewers know about these things.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the times it's because a lot of our viewers are people who have actually worked with them in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
anyway, that was something I was glad that I was able to remedy eventually. And the good thing about that is because the Loc Sound decoders are programmable, remedying that was just a software upgrade. No, I didn't have to take the engine apart or anything. You just put it on the track and hook it up to the Loc programmer and reprogram the sound.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That was nice. I really liked that feature. Another thing I did with this, the original Proto 2000 air tanks down here were kind of too small in plastic, so I replaced those with Details West parts and some of the other plumbing underneath. And it's got KD scales, or what they call scale couplers on both ends. And it already had walk rate tread, so I didn't do that on this model. But and the steps already had see-through perforations, so I didn't change those either. But anyway,
there's a lot of stuff you could do to it, but you don't always have to. It looks really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, if something is already the way it's supposed to be, there's not really a big reason to mess with it. So, but it's a nice model, and it actually runs really well. I was actually pretty impressed by how nice these Proto 2000 GP38s run.
Yep.
I've got 5 of them, and they all run pretty well.
Are they all BN or?
No, I got 2 BNs, a Chicago Northwestern, an EMD lease unit, and...
Oh, the EMD lease unit's that blue one, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, I remember that one. I think I've seen it before.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that puts a wrap on this episode of Dan's Models. Thanks for watching.